Good morning, Facebook friends and family. Once again, my name is Amber Smithson. I am a director over here at Bakersfield Behavioral Healthcare Hospital. And today I have to say I am so unbelievably privileged and happy to introduce these two gentlemen. We have Nathan McCauley, who is a sergeant and public information officer for the Bakersfield Police Department. And we also have Jeff Burdick, who is a lieutenant and the East Zone Commander for the Bakersfield Police Department. Good morning, and thank you both so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
I know that we have been doing 30 Days of 30 Heroes this month in May, and just this week, I think it was, we delivered a bunch of cookies and brownies to all of the police stations, and it was just great to see you all smile and get excited about the sweets and just to be able to say thank you. We really appreciate everything that you do for our community.
And we appreciate you. Thank you.
Yes, over these past several weeks, it's been an overwhelming amount of community support from a variety of places. It's been wonderful. It's a nice reminder of why you do what you do. You have the community that we live in here.
You know, and that was one of the things that I think we've said many, many times as we have visited hospitals and fire departments and police stations is, you know, the community is really showing what we're all about. And Bakersfield as a community really rises to the challenge. We believe so strongly in our community and building one another up. And I think that during this time, you've really seen that in full effect, and it's been wonderful to witness.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
So I thought today we could just kind of go over a few questions. Really what I'd like to, you know, we'll talk about several things, but of course we would like to kind of center around mental health when at all possible. And also the COVID-19 pandemic and how that's really kind of affecting the police stations right now and the police department. So maybe we can just kind of start off with that. During this time of COVID-19, you know, how has the BPD been handling those changes? What changes have happened? What have you been doing differently?
Okay, well, I think first and foremost, we always wanted to make sure that we let the community know that we're still coming. We're still available. Please, if you have anything you need us for, please call. Please come out there. And the other end of it that we made sure kind of simultaneously was making sure that we protect ourselves inside the building, our professional staff, our officers. So that meant extra personal protective equipment. It meant trying to limit the two-man cars. It meant trying to kind of keep certain parts of our police buildings separate and kind of making sure that we can have sanitation stations and things like that in there, different things for the cars to help get things cleaned out. In the response to calls, certain kinds of calls, if they're going to go inside a house or do certain kinds of searches, wearing masks, wearing eye protection, wearing things like that, we usually have gloves and things like that we wouldn't use normally throughout the course of our duties, but just having a couple extra layers of protection there to have that. Beyond that, we really trusted our officers in a lot of these areas there to be smart and use their best judgment and common sense. We don't want to draw a hard and fast line. Okay, hey, you have to respond to this call this way, and you have to respond to this call this way, and you know, traffic stops for this are okay, and traffic stops for this are not okay. We want them to use their best judgment. We want them for their calls. If you see something that's placing the community at risk, absolutely take action in that. If it's something that maybe can pass here to limit context, if it's not quite the level that it needs to have that immediate action, especially early on when there was a lot of unknowns, and we asked them to exercise their best judgment in here, but not forgetting the fact that, you know, our job is to keep the community safe, and you don't want to overlook that. We try to equip them so they can feel safe in going about their duties while also empowering them to make smart decisions in these situations. So hopefully that's what we were going with there, and it seems like it's been successful. It's been an adjustment to try to go through this. Our officers are pretty fantastic as far as being able to adjust to all of this. There's been a lot of changes thrown at them. Always something as far as, okay, well, everyone's going to brief outside and we're going to make sure we're spaced out, and kind of just different areas, different settings there of how they had to deal with it. And they take it in stride, and they still continue to do their job and still go to these calls. So it's definitely been a credit to them as far as the hard work that they put in and their ability to adjust on the fly to all of this. I mean, we want to make sure that we're still able to go to what we are needed for, but we want them to be safe as well, and they really come through in a remarkable way as far as being able to carry that on.
The only thing I would add as well is we didn't want to be the conduit to connect the public to each other, if you will. So while people are doing the social distancing and have the officers through either handing pins back and forth during citations or contacts that weren't absolutely necessary, and now we've taken two citizens who have done a good job of social distancing, and now we're the connector between the two people, and are we helping transmit things? So when we made our decisions, we tried to decide which things do we actually have to be face-to-face with you in, which things can we do online or via telephone, where the job is still getting done, but we're minimizing the exposure risks to the public. And while people were saying that we were overly concerned ourselves about being infected, it really was more about, we don't want to be the ones that have caused the problem to be worse, because we're connecting the public that wouldn't have been connected otherwise. We're the conduit. So, and I think it's worked well. And the community's been really good about understanding how we're trying to go about things and why, and they've been very supportive in what we're doing. So I think it's worked well.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I did notice that, the downtown station, where people are usually coming and going in that main lobby, that has, hours have changed, or there's been different precautions. Can you talk a little bit about that and what people are now doing instead of necessarily going in and seeing somebody in that lobby area downtown?
Yeah, a lot of the services our lobby has to offer, as far as vehicle impound releases and some of the ability to come in and make a report to a desk officer or sign off correctable violations, or some of the other services that were on there. A lot of these we were able to transition to online or over the phone, including being able to pay some impound fees and things like that, so people can still get cars out and impound hearings. Some of them have been restricted to appointment only. Some of the registration requirements, things like that, were changed by that. So we've been able to operate and give all of the services that we had in the lobby, but we had to do them a little differently, a mixture of online and over the phone, to try to make sure we're keeping that as safe as possible here. And for basically for the staff inside the building, as well as the officers, and for the public gathering in there, you want to make sure that people can still get done what they need to get done or have their questions answered. But if it was an environment where it put a lot of people in a small area and would have potentially caused other spreads, and we wanted to make sure we were limiting that. So we were able to basically move a lot of those services that are available online, and the ones that we couldn't do specifically online, we've been able to come up with smart ways that limit the number of people coming in at one point in time, kind of schedule that and allow people to, if we need to have more equipment or decontamination stuff in place, then we were able to set that up ahead of time.
Yeah.
And I think too that this was kind of an opportunity to see if we could make some of these different contacts not in person, to get the online or the phone system set up properly, where I don't know how many people that come down here really want to come to the police department for what they need business. If they can stay at their home and do it either online or via telephone, I think it's more convenient. And sometimes change like that's hard to come about because it seems so foreign and so out of the norm that you can never really get it implemented. So I think probably when this is all done, while the lobby will reopen at some point and be back to normal, my guess is that there'll be a certain percentage of the community who decides that I'd rather do it via phone or via online or mail in or whatever the method might be, and it's more convenient and they can go about their day without actually having to come down here, find a parking spot, and actually come grab a number and sit through that process. So I think at the end we'll probably find that there's some good that's come out of this from an efficiency perspective.
Absolutely. And I think that's been kind of an overall theme with all of those that I've been speaking to in our community in different fields, where we're all kind of, looking at the way we're making these adjustments and some of the new protocols or processes that we're utilizing, going, wow, some of this is actually better than the way we were doing it. And we think that, once things start to open up and things start to go back to normal per se, that we will start to continue to implement those things and use those things, because we find that they might be easier, they might be more effective and efficient, and so that, like I said, that seems to be an overall theme with everybody I talk to. Like, oh, this is really working. I think we might implement this later on as well, or keep implementing it. So
right. I think we'll decide that some things really do work better and other things really don't. And that'll be the challenge in the future, is to decide where the line is on which services to do which ways, and what makes the most sense. And hopefully it'll make things more efficient and more enjoyable for everyone who has to do business with the police department. So
yeah. Well, changing gears a little bit, I know that the Bakersfield Police Department has always been very active in the community and doing events and sponsoring events and just really being out there in the public, just like us, where we used to be able to do that, and obviously we're not doing that now. Have you guys thought about different ways of still kind of reaching out into the community and into the public and doing things? Have you kind of turned things virtual? Have you just kind of put it on hold and are gearing up for once things to start open back up, that you'll start doing it again? What does that kind of look like for you right now?
Well, we're definitely hoping to continue some of the events again, but we were in a good spot to where we've actually been working on growing our social media platforms and our ability to, you know, make contact with our community members for several years. So it was kind of a push to continue some of that. We've been able to recently hold kind of community meetings. We did one on recruitment. We've done one on kind of a neighborhood watch style meeting about some other different areas, things going on. And we've been able to do these through the same type of process, through Zoom, through Facebook Live, through other things here, to be able to reach out and still connect with people. We've tried to come up with the people in our community relations unit do a fantastic job of coming up with creative ways to reach out to the community and keep them involved. They did I don't know if you our Easter egg hunt and some of the pictures, and having officers go out and take pictures of those, and trying to just find different ways to keep people interacting, as well as being able to provide education through those platforms as well, whether it be crime trends and things that we're seeing, being able to push those out through those, to where we want to make sure that we connect with our community as much as possible. We also want to make sure that if there's something going on that they need to be aware of, that we're able to get that information out effectively. And I think that's definitely pushed us more in that area to be able to do it that way. We still hope to have those face-to-face interactions sometime in the future here, where we've got, I know that they really look forward to a lot of the events that they take place every year. So we'll hopefully those can continue at some point, hopefully sometime soon, but we'll continue working to make progress there. Obviously they want to make sure that people are safe, both in our building as well as out in the community. So we'll adjust that on the fly here as we go.
I think we've really tried to lead by example too, because people, if you see us doing something which we maybe frowned on by the general public, and that doesn't look good. So we're trying real hard to use these other methods to communicate with the public, and to show that we're concerned in the same battle everyone else is in, and trying to come up with new ways to do things. So I think when it's all said and done, we maybe find some nuggets of good things that come out of this that we can implement in the future. So.
Well, I know that I was paying attention to your social media platforms last week. Was it last week? No, it was this week. I'm sorry. This week is still it's the Memorial Week. I know.
That was last week.
It was last week. Okay.
We were able to go through, and we usually have different community events and things like that. We knew we couldn't do those this year, so it was okay. Well, it's still an important thing. We still want to remember the history, especially those that gave their lives in service to their community. We wanted to make sure we were still able to continue that through this year. So they had to get a little bit more creative on ways to do that. So I think they did a good job of coming up with some ideas there.
Yeah, they did. I was watching it online, and it was really nice to see. What were, maybe you can give our viewers just kind of a list of some of the things that you guys did last week in memory of those. Well,
last week, I think we started off, we had talked a lot about our honor guard and some of their traditions and why they go through, and what it means to be part of the honor guard, and had some of the officers talk about their experiences there. We had some messages from our community members and different people that work with the police department, and kind of talking about, because it's Police Week as well as Police Officer Memorial Day on the 15th. So some community members gave messages to our department there, as well as I think Wednesday we had some messages from some family members of officers that they talked about what it's like and their experiences there. On Thursday we had our live memorial ceremony that we did our Facebook Live on, trying to show a version of what we do on most years, but obviously we couldn't have anybody attend, so we just had our honor guard out there and we were able to kind of show the ceremony. I thought it was kind of neat, because normally our ceremony is at a time where most people would be at work, and we had a little bit more opportunity if people were interested in watching that. We had the opportunity to do so. We put together a video ahead of time for our countywide memorial. Again, that's another one that's usually hosted that same week, to include the sheriff and CHP, as well as another video we put to include some of the other law enforcement agencies throughout the county. And all of these were pretty well received as far as the feedback we got on them. And I definitely think that some of those, we'll still want to hold our events in the future, but I think some of these, the videos and things like that, will be a part of what we continue to use throughout moving forward, even past this point. But those are some of the events we had there. They've done a lot. I think they're tired of making videos recently, because we've been asking them every couple of weeks. I'm like, all right, I got something else for you to make here. So they come through, they do a good job, but they've definitely been asked to make a lot of different videos there. They've had to transition in their job too, from a lot of face-to-face events and all the things they did before, to a lot of, all right, well, how do I translate that into a digital world here, and how do I do those without being able to make contact with people? So they've done a good job of adapting to those changes.
Yeah. Well, it was really nice to see, it was great that you were able to still have those platforms to get those messages and those thoughts and kind words out to everybody. It was really nice. Um, so again, kind of changing gears, we're going to talk a little bit about mental health. And we were kind of talking about it a little bit before we went on the air. And obviously, our two professions work hand in hand with one another. Oftentimes, when you are out helping the community, you come across those individuals who are struggling with a mental health condition. And so one of the questions that I kind of had for you, and I know it's hard to pinpoint a number, but what do you think the percentage is of individuals that are struggling with mental health that you're coming across out in the community?
It's tough to pinpoint a percentage because our call volumes vary from month to month.
Right.
The ones that are known and when we're going out to them are known as mental health type calls and related to that, we go to about 250 to 275 per month that we know that going into it. And with various outcomes, sometimes there may be other things involved as far as maybe some substance abuse type issues or other factors that are going on to this. And then there's a lot of other calls where it may come out as a peace disturbance or a suspicious subject and may end up involving a mental health type event and issue here. So they have to be aware of this and consider this. And I think they've done a good job over the years. Some of the different training things that have been instituted, at least since over the past 13 years I've been here, I've seen more things added as far as kind of the awareness levels of this to include that as a factor in the decision making. And it goes all the way through from just kind of the classroom setting and being aware of what this looks like, as well as anything going through decision making, talking to people, de-escalation tactics, things that might be, as far as things related to use of force that might be effective in helping with these situations. There's been a variety of things, and that exposure to that has definitely grown a lot over the years.
Yeah, and the officers get CIT, the crisis intervention training, is a standard part of the academy now. So they're getting introduction early as to what to look for and how to best handle those situations. They get de-escalation training so that they can try to bring someone down when they're in crisis, so it doesn't turn into something that isn't good for either party. We use the MET team and the mobile evaluation team through the current behavioral health and recovery services group, and they're a godsend. They really are very, very helpful. That they come out in a mobile capacity and are able to do evaluations. And here in town, we normally get actually a person from MET, but in some of the outlying areas, they use the mobile via iPad. They are able to do a virtual MET evaluation that way, and that's really helped in the other jurisdictions. That instead of having to drive all the way to Bakersfield, they can actually the client can actually have a face-to-face via digital using a phone or some sort of electronic device to actually talk to the MET member team person and find out what exactly they can do to help them out. So there's a lot of technologies helped out. Our partners we work with, we work well with everyone, and it's challenging because a good number of the calls, as Sergeant McCauley said, we don't know what we're going into. So what may seem like just a peace disturbance over parking may turn into a mental health situation where someone's in crisis. And sometimes things that come out as a mental health issue turn out not to be. So you really don't know until you get there and do a little investigative work and find out what you're dealing with until you know. And the officers do a very good job of transitioning back and forth between crisis and otherwise. So.
Yeah, absolutely. They certainly do. We, like I've said before, we appreciate them. We appreciate their diligence and really trying to, discern what the situation is and then get that person the help that they need. So we appreciate that. One of the things that I've been kind of asking everybody this month, especially because May is Mental Health Awareness Month, I've been kind of just posing the question to everybody, if tomorrow we woke up and there was no more stigma surrounding mental health, it was just gone, what do you think that would look like? What do you think that would look like for Bakersfield as a community and for your officers?
I think stigma is a big part of a lot of issues that humans face, whether it's a medical condition or mental health or substance abuse. And I haven't found too many issues that if you ignore them, they get better. So, I think that's kind of the situation here. If you are in crisis and you do have a mental health issue that you need to be taken care of, not talking about it and hiding and not getting treatment or help you need is not going to make the situation better. It typically makes it worse. So if the stigma went away and those who are have some embarrassment or whatever, don't want their neighbor, their family member to know, what have you, if that was all gone and people voluntarily went to go get treatment and help, I mean, it would make things, it can only make things better. I can't imagine it being worse. And I don't know if that day will come. I think there's been big strides in the last 5 years, I think, as far as with the different, like the Met team and different stuff where you can, we come to you versus you having to come to us kind of a situation, which I think makes it easier. So you're not actually having to go into some office building and introduce yourself and say, I need help. It's kind of a tough thing to do. But if we come to you, it removes a few of the barriers, I think, and gets that into a better place for everybody. So like I said, I think it's good. And if we can all hope to get there, and I think piece by piece we are. So.
And not even just to a police officer working out in the community or some of those obvious areas. I think even within the departments, and I was a veteran, I've been part of other veteran groups, and if you remove some of the stigma of what that means, having struggling with an issue, whether it be with PTSD or with stress or other things that can be overwhelming, if there was no concerns about talking about that, no worry about how that might be received, no perception that that's looked at as a failure, a personal failure on somebody's part. If you took all of that away, I think that would help a lot of people that sometimes get into a dark place there through other means, that taking that away would be able to give them some more options and some more support.
Absolutely. Statistically, it's shown that only half of the individuals who are struggling with their mental health will seek help. But out of that half, over 90% are treated successfully. And so I think about those numbers and I think, wow, if there was no more stigma, imagine what those numbers would be and how many more individuals would seek out the help that they need. And that would be a good thing. That would be an amazing thing.
I think Sergeant McCauley hit on something too, is, I think most people, if you mention mental health, you think of some of the people you see visually in the community struggling, and I have no idea what the numbers would be, but I'm sure there's a much bigger number of people who maybe your desk mate or someone works in your office or in your home or what have you, your neighbor, who are going through the same kind of problems, but they're not as visual.
Right.
And again, and they're in a position too where, they don't want to jeopardize their employment or family or friend relationship. And so they keep quiet and struggle instead of getting the help that might make a big difference for them. So
Right.
it's a very, very important question you asked.
Well, and statistically, again, 1 in 5 individuals in the U.S. are struggling with their mental health. But so the odds are that you are sitting next to somebody, a coworker, a friend, a family member who is struggling. The chances are very high, right? But because of that stigma, I think it kind of cripples the opportunity sometimes for individuals to seek the help that they really need and they deserve. So yeah, I think now more than ever during this month, we should be talking about the stigma. How can we be there to support one another, and just to reassure people that it's okay, right? It's okay to ask for help. Whatever that help is, it's okay for us to ask for help. And I'm sorry,
go ahead. I would say, and most people, even if you, as a friendly gesture, say, hey, is there something we can do to help? Most people will deny there's an issue, and just for the same reasons you're mentioning, which makes it frustrating for both parties. That the person wanting to help feels they aren't being able to do much, and the person needing the help probably wants it but is too afraid to ask for it or accept it. And then with this COVID situation going on, we've got with unemployment and the different issues and uncertainty, there's only been more added to the list of people, not fewer, I'm sure. So
right, yeah, absolutely.
It's an interesting time.
Yeah, we're having times of isolation, and with isolation, you're changing your whole routine where you used to have outlets. Maybe it was your you time was going to work because you loved going to work, and maybe now you're not able to go to work. So there's definitely a lot of things going on right now that can add to someone's distress, that can add to someone's mental health concerns. So us all working together to help our community as a whole is just so important. So what I'll kind of finish it off by just saying or asking, is there any advice that you could give, that you would want to give our community right now? well, especially with the COVID-19 situation going on. Is there any bit of advice that you all feel would be pertinent for our community to know?
I mean, I think with the uncertainty now with the reopening, which is confusing at best, you know, on what's essential and non-essential, and even simple things like haircuts, I know are, you know, is that important or essential or non-essential? So I think we're over the hump, if you will. I think this is brighter days are coming, and with as the city continues to reopen and people get back to work, I think there'll be a little ease and tension. I would just ask people to continue to try to make smart decisions, and you know, if you feel the need to wear a mask, wear a mask. If you think gloves are a good idea, wear them. If you can avoid contact with people that you don't necessarily have to have contact with, it's probably a good idea. And the main thing I think is if you feel sick or ill, do your coworkers and your family and everyone else a favor and take the sick day or stay home and don't, you know, because I think a lot of people, especially in the working community, and I know down here at the police department, there's this sense of duty and you have to show up and you have to come. And even if you're coughing and having issues, you know, which the unintended consequences, you may be infecting your partner or other people in the building, and is to try to make the smart decision to protect yourself and your circle of friends or coworkers, and try not to spread anything that's unnecessary.
And I think another one, I've been from the beginning of this and talking to news outlets and other places, I think one of the best things you can do in this time is just be decent to one another. Regardless of where you stand on this issue, whether you're afraid of it, whether you're not afraid of it, whether you think that people are overstepping their bounds or anything else, none of that changes the fact that a lot of mutual respect and just being decent to your fellow man here goes a long way. So if people can probably follow that, regardless of where they're at, everyone has their own ability to choose different things here. And if people can kind of follow that, and that would be a good one to carry on, past this too. I think when we even get past that time, but if we could make that the priority and not looking at something polarizing of looking at who's making the right decisions or wrong decisions, people could start with that basic level of respect, it would go a long way.
Absolutely. I think you hit it right there. That's exactly it. Empathy, respect towards everyone, right? That would go a long way. So, well, I want to thank you both very much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to sit down and talk with me. I really appreciate it. Once again, from all of us here at Bakersfield Behavioral, we truly appreciate our Bakersfield Police Department, everything that you all do for us and for our community. And, we appreciate you very much. Thank you so much for everything you do.
Thank you for inviting us. It was a pleasure talking to you all, and we look forward to doing it again sometime.
Yes, thanks for having us.
Absolutely.